Hello, welcome to the Graphic Whizard operator training on the PT331SCCAir. After removing the crate and unwrapping the unit, just slide out the waste tray from beneath the machine and unwrap the various trays, guides, and tools that we have stored inside there for you. Before operating the machine, for putting on the touchscreen and actually setting this machine up, we're going to remove two different brackets that we keep installed for shipping in order to make sure that the machine stays aligned, that we don't have any feeder issues when it shows up on your side. And so all you have to do at the start is remove the Phillips screw on the left hand and right hand side and remove this bar that we attach for shipping. Once you've removed it, keep it in a safe space so that you can use it again if you ever need to transport the machine long distances. And on this bottom bracket, you see the other one with the two pink labels. I'm just going to remove the Phillips head screws that are affixing it to the bottom of the machine. Okay, I'm going to leave the rest of the plate on so that when the machine travels up and down, there isn't a gap that I can get my fingers inside. So just leave the bottom plate on, but we're going to remove the two screws that have the arrows pointing at them on those bottom stickers. Right, once we've done that, we can start to attach our trays. This one being for my in-feed table. So it's going to have a legend on here for setting up my slitting blades. Just loosen off the Allen screws, slide the tray on, and it will drop down into position. Okay. Once it's on the machine, from underneath, use your Allen key and tighten those back up. On the exit, you can see I have a number of different outfeed options, my business card catcher, and some other magnets just for dividing up my stock when I'm switching for different sizes to make sure things come out the back end of the machine nice and clean and stack up for you so that you can package them up and get them back out the door easily. Also inside the machine, you're going to find a manual. You'll find some sample sheets that we're going to use for our training here, and some samples that came off the unit so you know we quality controlled it before we shipped it out to you, which we would always do. Okay, so there's some business card files. Those samples I can just tuck away or hold on to them if you want to show them to design teams, anybody else, to give you some ideas in the future. And those extra screws that we took out of the bottom, we're just going to hold on to in case you ever take the cover off, you decide to get nosy, and then you lose them yourself. In my tool bag, I have a power cord, a number of different hex keys, screwdriver, and some spacer plates. These are for my slitting assembly that I'll show you in a little bit, that we're going to use when we want to take our blades apart in case you get a jam or anything that you want to clean out of the machine there. Okay, so this tool bag's going to be pretty important. Right off the bat, you will have used the hex keys, and you will have used the Phillips if you didn't already have one sitting around your shop like I do. Okay. So we saw me put on my in-feed tray. The out-feed tray on this side has an extension that I'm not going to put on just for our purposes here. But just like the in-feed, a couple of hex screws on the outside, these will loosen up. And then I can put on my tray. Right, so if you're doing 12 by 18, 11/17, larger brochures where you need the extra space, put the extension on. When you don't need it, we can just tuck this away, right, and save it for when you do want to attach it to the outfeed of the machine, giving you a little bit more length for those longer pieces. Again, good idea to tuck this underneath the machine, not so much in the bottom of your waste tray, but you may just want to slide it along the side so that when you are doing these things in the future, you have it there and you make sure it doesn't go missing. When somebody's using that as a lunch tray, then it doesn't make its way back to the machine. And then when you want to go do 12 by 18 brochures, they're kind of hanging off the back end and you can't use your magnets to set it up properly. And we're almost done with our setup, and then we're going to get into the more interesting things. One of the last steps is attaching my touchscreen. So I'm just going to loosen the two Phillips screws on the outside of the screen. Okay, make sure that you're not putting any pressure on the screen itself as you're doing these things. And so I'm not going to lean it up on the corner of a table, putting pressure on the pressure-sensitive screen, because you could potentially cause damage. And then I'm just going to take off the four countersunk smaller Phillips screws out of the side of this to remove the back. Okay, when you're doing these things, you can just take one of my magnets from the back, stick all of my screws on that so that I don't lose them. And so anytime you're taking any of the covers off of the machine, not so much for our initial setup, but you have the waste basket underneath. I want to take that out of the machine so that you don't drop screws down into the bottom of the waste bin. I'm telling you that from experience. It's not fun trying to find these small set screws if you do drop them down into the bottom of your waste bin when it's full of a bunch of scraps from cutting business cards and greeting cards, whatever else you're going to do there. Okay, so my 4 screws are out. And gently just drop the back of my touchscreen off, giving me access to the board on the back. And the plug is going to go into the back of my unit over here. Okay, so you can see on this plug, it's a little bit further away in my camera angle, but there is one tab. Okay, so it's going to be on the top side of this, coming from the back. And when I fix it to the board underneath, it's going to slot into that tab on the back of my touchscreen. Okay. 2 more screws that I have to take off underneath here. This is what's going to attach the touchscreen to the 331SCCAir. Once we have our touchscreen on, we're done with our file setup and we can start pressing some buttons. Okay, back again, around to the back of my machine. There's a gap underneath. Okay, so my cord goes up through that gap and into the back of the screen here. So I'll take you for a quick walk and show you what that looks like. So we're not trying to give everybody motion sickness here. Okay, so this plug up through the bottom and pressed snug into my touchscreen board. Okay. The front of the touchscreen should be slotted underneath the metal, and you can see my back tabs are underneath as well. Once you have that through, I'm just going to tighten the top of this touchscreen to the machine, and then I'll reattach the back, and we're ready to go.